Hey everyone, Long here and welcome back. In today's video, we're going to talk about this gimbal system that I built a photo package onto. Typically we use a gimbal system for video stabilizing, but this time we needed to mount the gimbal outside of a car and take photos, and we needed to operate it from inside the car while tracking the subject. There's a lot that went into this build that I'm going to share with you, so let's get into it. I am a Canon user, so the camera that I went with is the R5 Mark I. At the time, the R5 Mark II hadn't released yet. I do have an R3, but I couldn't get it to work with how I have this configuration. At the back of the camera, I have an HDMI splitter. I have a pocket wizard to trigger the camera remotely. Here, I'm using a DJI Ronin RS4 Pro. This allows me to control the settings on the camera like ISO, f-stop, shutter. I'm using a Polar Pro matte box with an ND filter and a circular polarizer. I have two V-mount batteries. One powers the gimbal through the small rig power base plate, and this other V-mount powers the camera directly. The orange base plate that you see on top is from Ignite Digi. They're a company out of Australia. This allows us to connect the Movi female toad mount to the plate. The reason why we're using a toad mount is because the videographer that's on the shoot uses a Movi system, so we can quickly swap to a video package to a photo package with little downtime. This ring mount I found on Amazon for around $150, and the reason why I went with this one is because it was tall. There's other ones that either it didn't fit or just way too expensive, and that's what I like about this ring mount. Another reason is this was how the camera was going to be position off the Black Arm, and all the other ones were flipped upside down, and so I needed to see how the weight and how it's going to look by building the package like this. For anyone in the future, you cannot just turn off the camera, it'll flip around and all the cables will get jumbled if you have this cable running off separately. So the first thing I recommend to do is lock the motors, and then you can power down the system. Here I'm using the DJI focus motor to control the focal length. Since the camera is set on autofocus subject detect, I don't really need to worry about the autofocus. So here it's just controlling the focal length to see if I need to zoom in or zoom out. The purpose of the HDMI splitter is to send information to the Ronin RS4 Pro, which allows me to transmit and change settings on the camera, but also sends information to the DJI Transmission Pro, which sends it to whatever monitors and receivers that I have. So here, this comes from the camera into the splitter, this goes into the Ronin RS4 Pro, this goes into the transmitter, which then gets broadcast to our high bright monitor. When building out the whole system, the last piece of the puzzle was coming across and discovering that these grips work with this system. I will say on DJI's website, it is not clear what works and what doesn't work. And I happened to just stumble across some YouTube video, some rabbit hole, saw someone using it, but he wasn't talking about that you could use it with the Ronin. So I bought a set, plugged it straight into the monitor, and it works right away. And that's, again, what I love about DJI is when it works great. And that's the whole reason why I went with the DJI package. The only thing it can't do is take a photo, which then with that, I use this pocket wizard, which you can connect a button push. This is a pedal. So there's different ways you can control the camera from a distance. I bought another receiver from DJI, which allows me to connect another monitor. This was for the driver. The driver is able to see what we see, so he can help slow down, accelerate to help us get the shot that we need. Here are some photos we were able to get with this build. We were at Coda Raceway in Austin, Texas. The gimbal did well most of the time. We were traveling 100 miles an hour through the track, tracking the bikes. There was maybe 1 or 2 turns where the gimbal would lose it from the high G-forces. There was also a mix between the balance of the motors on the DJI and the spring tensions on the Black Arm. For the autofocus on the R5, we just left it to continuous autofocus. The subject detect, we had to detect the vehicle, worked really well, so we just needed to focus on framing and taking the photo. Well, that's my photo gimbal build. I hope you guys like this video. The whole reason why I made this video is because there's just not a lot of information out there on building a photo gimbal package that you can shoot from. And I wanted to build something, create a foundation for anyone in the future who wants to evolve on something like this. I'm sure there's people out there who are way more experienced than I am and that they can tell me what I could have done better. So this is my version of it. I'm sure there's other versions and I'm going to hear from you guys what I could have done, which I would love. Please leave it in the comment sections down below. Like, subscribe. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.